And welcome. We are live. My name's Isaac. I am the co-founder of Pet Summits, and we have a very special guest today, Dr. Edward Bassingthwaighte. He is the Healing Vet, the founder of the Healing Vet, and also our amazing host of the Pet Anxiety Summit. Welcome, Dr. Edward.
Thanks so much for having me. And I'm kind of getting a little bit excited, super excited, because it's only literally a couple of days until this whole thing kicks off and goes live. Yeah.
Yeah, just goes live. Well, we have a special surprise kickoff, which people will see that, which we've got a couple of panel experts, and make sure you see that. And then we go live on Monday. So for everybody that is US, Monday at 6 o'clock in the morning, that's when all of the free version will be available, each day available for 48 hours.
And for us on the other side of the planet, that is...
It's like 6 p.m. Monday.
Is that Eastern you're talking?
So 6 a.m. Eastern, and then that will be 6 p.m. Australia time.
8 p.m. actually.
8 p.m.?
Yeah, 8 p.m.
Oh, yes. Sorry, 6 p.m. Bali time. I'm in Bali, sorry.
Yeah, so for all of you in Australia, it'll be like 8 p.m. Monday night that you'll be able to get access.
Yeah.
We've got time zones. It gets a bit weird.
Yeah, it does. So today, I guess what we wanted to really talk about is because anxiety is such a big problem for our pets. And there's many ways. A lot of time is kind of missed, and a lot of pet parents don't really know what to do. So when it comes to dealing with anxiety, let's just start with, what does it look like to begin with? Because there are a lot of signs that are missed, and then what can pet parents or pet owners do?
So in the beginning, especially with dogs, it can just look like an excited dog. But if you get a dog that gets excited, overexcited too easily, that can be a sign that there might be anxiety underneath the surface that's not really terribly obvious. You certainly, if you get a dog that is hypervigilant, who's always on alert, who never switches off and just relaxes. So a healthy dog that's got good ability to regulate into healthy relaxation, where they should live most of the time, you should see that they turn off. And if something happens, they might kind of lift their head and go, oh, something happened. That's all right. But if you've got a dog that's maybe tending towards anxiety or in the early stages of anxiety, every little sound I'll be going, what was that? What was going on? So that lack of ability to switch off is probably one of the really important early signs. Another thing that you could look out for is if you get a dog that gets hyper-focused on toys and wants you to play with toys all the time and throw the ball all the time, what they're doing is kind of addicting themselves to that anxious, aroused state. And the more that they do that, the more you're reinforcing and kind of edging their whole nervous system over to a resting state of kind of orange zone, unhealthy orange. Your animals should really be in green zone, healthy relaxation most of the time. And they should spend some time in orange zone for healthy play, healthy, that kind of stimulation. If it was a wild animal, it'd be kind of going out hunting or playing. But if they get stuck there, then it tends to feed on itself and it gets worse and worse. And then you get these dogs that get triggered into the red zone really easily and get super, super anxious. And that is unhealthy.
So for those of the people that are watching either live now or the recording, if they haven't heard you speak before, when you talk about the zones, you got the green zone, orange zone, and red zone. Can you just briefly explain to us what that actually means and how we can use that as a tool?
Well, we can think of from deep relaxation to extreme arousal as like a spectrum. Yeah. Now, if you're in a relaxed state, that's the green zone.
Yeah.
Then when they get up and they might see their friend and they go to play, but the key thing about being in a healthy orange zone is that they can still think. They still have all their cognitive capacity online. So if you call their name, they go, oh, someone's calling me. I better go over to the human. Or if the human calls, you can communicate with your dog when they're in healthy orange.
Yeah.
But when you go into more survival type, fight, flight, well, it's fight, flight, freeze, or fidget are the kind of ways that this survival instinct of arousal, you can't collapse if some threat comes, right? You've got to have more alertness, more ability to move away or protect yourself, that sort of thing. But when you get into the unhealthy orange and red zone, or when you cross what I call the red line, that's when it's like the whole front brain of the animal has just switched off. They're in total panic, fear, they think that they're going to die, basically. And at that point, you've got an animal that cannot understand communication or learn at all, so that they can be dangerous to themselves and to others. So another potential early sign of anxiety might be a dog that has difficulty learning, because that tells you that if you're trying to train them and training's not working, it's probably because they're in such a state of arousal that their capacity to think and be sensible has switched off. Another kind of early sign of anxiety, I had a little dog come into me when I used to work in a vet clinic some time ago. And this was a little puppy, and as soon as I reached out to touch it, it tried to bite me. And this dog was showing obvious signs of reactivity and anxiety. And I was telling the people, you got a problem here. And the people were just like, no, I'm not listening to this guy. This puppy's fine. There's nothing to worry about. Now, they came in for another visit. And I said, what's the puppy like when you take it out and about to different places in different circumstances? Oh, they said it's really cool. It really calms right down. Well, no, that puppy wasn't coming right down. That puppy was anxious and going into a freeze or suppression, which is another way that anxiety, the four phases of anxiety are fight. They're the ones that lunge and bark and try and make the scary thing go away. There's flee. There's the ones that run away from the scary thing. Then you have the freeze one, and this is why people can miss it. So if you've got a puppy that kind of is a bit anxious in some situations, but you take them somewhere new and they kind of seem to be calm, that's actually a red flag that's a freeze response anxiety. Now, this puppy came back 3 or 4 months later and was just trying to eat the vet, and these people hadn't acted on these early signs that I tried my best to warn them about. And, you now got a really aggressive, dangerous little dog that if we'd intervened earlier, perhaps we could have made a difference. And the fourth phase of anxiety is the fidget phase. Now, these are the ones that when someone comes to visit, they go crazy and they stop listening and they jump all over everyone. Or they're the ones that get really, really obsessed with toys and so obsessed that the toy is the only thing that they want to
do. Why is it that and I might get a bit of hate for this comment, but there's damn little Shih Tzus and these little Chihuahuas, like, man, they're the worst out of all of them. Like my grandmother's dog it's this tiny little thing, but I was terrified of it, and I'm a pretty big guy.
I think part of the reason that you get this little dog syndrome is that people think, oh, it's cute. We don't need to worry about this behavior. Yeah. Now, if you've got a 40-kilo Akita or a Malinois or 50 kilos of Great Dane and they show a little sign of behavioural issues, you're going to be going, we better deal with this because this is a big dog and it's it's dangerous. Whereas I think with little cuter dogs, oh, it's so cute, so fluffy, so cuddly. I think the other really classic ones that I've had trouble with as a vet are Pomeranians.
Yeah, okay.
They are little demons, a lot of them. That's largely, I think, because they are kind of so cute and little and fluffy, and because they're so small, you don't actually perceive their aggressive, reactive behavior as a threat. Whereas with a big dog, you're going to really act really quickly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I guess sometimes when that comes back to the owner, where they just play off and the signs where there could be a serious, or even maybe drive up the anxiety by teasing it or playing with it a little bit more, or like, oh, it's so cute, and giving so much attention and increasing that state of arousal. Let's talk about like untreated anxiety. Like, that can manifest in many ways, that in some ways that owners wouldn't expect, or could even be mistaken for misbehavior. How crucial is a timely intervention in such cases, and what are some effective immediate strategies that owners can use to help calm their pets?
That's a good question, and I think the answer is that the more sensitive you can become to the early signs. Other early signs might be that you get a new puppy and they get worried about a sound, or it might be that they have trouble being alone. Now, there's a whole lot of things you can do with puppies to help them learn how not to be what I saw a post recently that talking about attention monster puppies, that they've got to have the human's attention all the time or they melt down, So you've got to teach puppies how to be by themselves with you without necessarily needing your attention all the time. But the earlier you can act with anxiety things, the better. Now, anxiety is kind of strange in that you can have one inciting incident of trauma that will suddenly tip an animal into obvious anxiety symptoms. Now, you can't do so much about that sometimes. It's just like outside of your power. An accident happens, you're out on a walk and you get blindsided by someone who's let their dog off and they roll your puppy over and the puppy then decides that every other dog on a walk is going to be terrifying. But the thing is, don't wait if that happens. Go and work with people straight away, because the sooner you start doing something, the better things will be. But the other way that anxiety develops is that it's kind of in layers. You have something causes an incident that you might not think is important, but your dog or your cat's going, oh wow, that was actually really scary. And it builds up and builds up and builds up, and there might be little symptoms of anxiety. And often when I'm talking to people about their animals who've come to me with full-blown anxiety, when I dig into the history, wow, there's been signs of anxiety developing for months or years even before it suddenly crosses a threshold where the symptoms become a problem for the human. So the sooner you get sensitive to being able to pick up the early signs of anxiety, and the sooner you not only do something about it, but there's a whole lot of proactive stuff. And one of the kind of emphases in this summit is around prevention. Because the more, I always say, it doesn't matter what you're talking about when it comes to the well-being of your animals or yourself for that matter, that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure every time.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. What about when you hear like an incident does happen, and then can it be fixed? Like, I guess that's where a lot of, like, it could be like a one-off. You could be down at the park, could have an amazing dog, and then that dog is attacked by another dog, or that it experienced some type of trauma. Because sometimes you hear these stories and people are just like, my dog was amazing, and this one incident, just there's another bad dog. I wouldn't say bad dog, it was an untrained dog that attacked my dog, and now my dog's constantly fearful. Like, how do we fix that?
Well, first step is to come to the summit to learn more about the problem, so you can learn the thing. What I find is that a multimodal type way of treating anxiety is nearly always required.
Yeah.
As in, you need to do not just one thing, but you need to do a number of things, and you need to do a number of things over often an extended period of time. Now, some of these animals will totally recover. Some of these animals will recover, but be fragile in terms of, if another event happens, they might slide back, and you'll need to then do the work to help the animal recover from another event. And you will get the rare animal that it's difficult to help. But again, the more you learn about this, the more different types of interventions and treatments that you become aware of, and the more you know what kinds of professionals are going to be able to help you the most, the greater the chances are that you're going to be able to rehabilitate that dog completely. I've worked with a lot of anxious dogs over a long time, and it's very rare that we can't make, really significant improvements over time. But if you get a dog that perhaps has got a background that makes them more vulnerable, you might get a dog that's come from poor genetics, so temperament lines that are already got bad behavior, and temperament is very, 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 very heritable. Yeah. Maybe they're then born into a situation where the people really don't socialize the puppies, don't handle the puppies. Maybe then they just get put in the backyard and don't get any attention, and then they could even have, you know, abuse of various kinds, and then they get rescued, and, you know, then they're kind of remedial, and it can take a lot of time and energy to get them back. But I have helped people with dogs in those kind of situations get back to being a relatively normal dog that's maybe 80-90% fine with everything.
Yeah, there's lots of different. I think we've got this with Doggy Dan and Kamal talk about that in the summit, where they talk about reactive dogs and reactivity and helping them calm down. When it comes to like treatments, and I guess this is where we're kind of going through, like it's really can be quite amazing and frustrating for some pet parents, and they can be a little bit overwhelmed. You know, what's one of the holistic approaches that we'll dive deeper during the summit, but that we can just quickly touch on right now, that's I would say your go-to?
Look, my go-to is therapeutic touch. That's the thing that I use more than anything else, and the thing that I found is one of the most helpful things. Now, I seldom use it only that, though. You know, I add in CBD, and I often need to work with the human to get the human to be in a better place, because often the human doesn't understand how to express healthy boundaries around personal space with the dogs. And if you have a dog that doesn't feel like there's a strong, benevolent leader, human, then the dog's going to try and feel that leadership vacuum, which often leads to a whole lot of anxiety and more vigilance, because they feel like they've got to be on the watch out and look after everybody and stuff like that. But I think touch, when you learn the right kinds of touch causes the body to relax. And you'll see these anxious animals, when I first work with them with touch, their body will relax, and then their mind will go, oh my God, I'm relaxed. It might take a few weeks of regular touch for the mind to realize, oh, I can relax. Oh, and I feel okay. Oh, that's weird. Oh, it's actually quite nice to be relaxed. And they kind of learn then that with anxiety, you've got a whole complex thing going on. Anxiety is provoked because the animal has feelings and thoughts that the situation or the stimulus is fearful and dangerous. So when using touch, if I can use touch to help them relax in the face of the stimulus, then over time they learn that, oh, that thing's actually not dangerous. So you can get really good behavior modification from that. But touch is my go-to, but that's kind of like my sweet spot with everything that I do.
Yeah, and I guess it's like, well, there's a couple of things there. It's almost instant, so that for that brief period of time, you're able to calm the cat or dog down pretty quickly. But then there's that connection that the human and the animal is having. And now I'm just speculating here, I could be completely wrong, but like if you build like that touch, we're feeling that transfer of that energy, and that comes also making sure that you're calm, and if you can transfer that connection, and then that bond, and then that animal that's building that trust, and then the dog's no longer anxious anymore, and it's further connecting the bond between the owner and their pet. Is that like a correct assumption?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the beautiful thing about using touch is that when you're using touch, you have to be present. So you kind of, and you're focused totally on your dog, so you forget all your worries for a little while. And when the dog relaxes, there's a sympathetic relaxation in your body, because there's this empathic and physiological connection. You know, whenever you're in relationship with any other being, you're co-regulating all the time. So touch then helps both. When you're using touch, not only does it have a relaxing effect on the animal that you're touching, but because of the co-regulation of the nervous systems, then the human relaxes too. So it's kind of like a win-win.
Yeah. Have you ever done any Reiki on a dog or cat before?
Well, with the whole energy body balance method, we have two parts of that program. We have two programs. One is Web Body Work for Pets, which is very touch-based.
Yeah.
And we have Web Energy Work for Animals, which is an intuitive development energy healing program, which is not exactly Reiki, but it uses healing energy in a similar way to Reiki. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's cool. I had it actually during COVID, and I guess I am into that type of side of the world, but I'd never had it before, and I didn't believe in it. And I was just like, all right, but I'll always try something once. And I was telling the lady, is like, listen, I'm just gonna be upfront. I don't believe in this, but I'll give it a go. And then she did the treatment on me, and I'm like out, and and I just felt amazing. I felt just so calm afterwards, and yeah, so I was just like,
Yeah.
you do that, yeah, yeah,
Look, it has a really profound effect, and I know that one of our students was doing a distance session with an animal, and the owner of the animal didn't know at what time that was happening, but the next day they told them, and at that time the animal was yawning and showing all sorts of relaxation signs, even though it's in a different place, and that the owner didn't know what was going on.
yeah.
And
Wow.
I see this really often with animals too, that I start working hands off, and sometimes I'll have a much stronger relaxation response when I'm not actually interacting with touch at all, but using energy.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I guess like for those that we'll open up, because I know you've got a meeting straight after this. Got a hard deadline, so we'll open up a couple of questions for a few minutes to everyone. Again, the summit starts on Monday morning at 6 a.m. Eastern time, which would be 8 p.m. Australian time. I got that right this time. I'm going to put the link in the. Someone's already. Dr. Edwards already done that.
There is a
What are you
question there.
most excited about? Yeah. Okay.
No, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, what are you most excited about the summit, and what do you hope people come to learn from this?
Look, I'm just excited that people get the opportunity to get so much wisdom from such a broad spectrum of experts that have been doing this for a long time. So you get lots of different perspectives. You get lots of different ways of understanding pet anxiety, and you get lots of ways of interacting with your animals in terms of holistic treatments, in terms of touch, in terms of understanding how and when vets are going to get the best outcomes for your animals, in being able to tell what's going on with your animals better, so that you don't leave them in the lurch. Not now, not that anyone would ever deliberately leave their pets in the lurch, but sometimes if you don't have the level of knowledge that you need, then you just don't know what you don't know until you go and find it out. And this summit is an amazing opportunity for you to find out so much about pet anxiety and how to prevent and treat it. So that's what
And
excites me.
the other thing, to those of you watching, and I saw a lot of people do, like we have a Facebook group now. We're not experts, so but we have so many people in our Facebook group that have all gone through similar situations. So, like, if you have a question, and again, we have some pretty strong rules. Like, everyone has different opinions, but please do put your comments in there, and so that you can get some other support from people that have been there and where
Yeah.
you have been before. We do have one question which I'll just put up now. There we go.
So cognitive decline, anxiety nearly always gets worse in our older pets, as if they are getting doggy dementia, canine cognitive decline, or feline cognitive decline. Nearly always any kind of existing anxiety will become worse. And there is this sundowner thing, where they seem to get worse in the evening and overnight, where they get more inclined to be pacing and agitated and anxious. I've found CBD to be about the most helpful thing for those dogs. It seems to not only help with anxiety, but it seems to be really, really helpful for cognitive decline. I've used it with a lot of older dogs and seen some really good results. I had one little old dog that the owner hadn't had a full night's sleep for 2 years, and 2 days after they started CBD, the dog slept through the night. Owner slept through the night and baked me a whole tin of bickies and sent them off in the post.
What about when it comes to cognitive? I'm getting a little bit older in my age. I use lion's mane. Do you know much about mushrooms for our animals?
Yeah, look, mushrooms can be, these medicinal mushrooms are something that I prescribe to a lot of animals,
Okay.
and they're super helpful. We haven't talked about them. Maybe we'll have to get a mushroom expert up next year, hey?
Yeah, well, Doctor, actually, I'll put that in the codes. This is one of our sponsors, Dr. Rob Silver. He
Oh, right, yes.
he's a CBD expert, and for those of you that purchase the premium pass, there's actually a special talk in the bonus area that's just on CBD. But Dr. Rob also is a mushroom specialist, and yeah, we definitely, it's something that we want to dive into a lot deeper because it doesn't get talked enough about, and we're really just starting to touch the tip of the iceberg around this amazing natural product. That I wouldn't say product, but what is a mushroom actually? Like what's the
What is a mushroom? Mushroom is a well, there's all sorts of fungi that
fungi,
the vast majority of which are kind of the opposite of medicinal, and well, you'll know that you'll be able to eat them once, a lot of them, but not necessarily more than that. But the medicinal mushrooms is what will happen is that it'll either be a dried powder or a tincture. I tend to prefer the powder. They're kind of easy to mix into foods and don't have the taste of alcohol and stuff like that in them.
Yeah, Dr. Rob said that as well. I remember having a chat to him. He said the powder's better because the alcohol can kind of dilute some of the benefits of the mushroom.
Yeah. Yeah. No more questions?
Any more questions?
You have to be quick because I've got a few minutes before I got to head off.
All right. Well, I'm just going to put the link up here again. This is pet anxiety, petsummits.com/anxiety. This is where you can get your free ticket. Now, remember, each day will be available for free for 48 hours. But if you sign up and get the premium ticket, you'll get access to the bonus recordings. There's some bonuses from Dr. Edward and the premium pass, and the bonus video from Dr. Silver. Plus, we've got about $200 to $300 worth of bonuses, discounts from various supplements. Also, Shy Tiger have for the Australians, because we normally only look after the US people. I managed to get like a 20% discount for the Australian people wanting to get some essential oils. So that's for the Australian people.
Yeah, and the most important thing about the premium pass is you get lifetime access to all the presentations, and there's a lot of information in them. You're likely to want to watch them a few times to be able to soak it all in.
Yeah, and also remember, we will be going live with Dr. Edward each day after the session, which is 6 p.m. Eastern time. That's sorry, but actually 7 p.m. We've changed the time so we could help out the.
It's actually 8 p.m.
8 p.m. Eastern time now. Sorry, 8 p.m. Eastern time.
It's 10 a.m. my time, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll start on Tuesday here in Australia, go through to Saturday, and it's Monday through to Friday for all of you in the US.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's any other questions, please comment in the Facebook group. We hope to see you there, and we look forward to seeing everybody next week. Thank you so much for your time.
Grab your seat. We'll see you there.